What's going on? Daniel Frankson, Atlanta Real Estate Resource. Here with video number 7 or step number 7 in the 9-step process of selling your home. If you've missed any of the previous videos, you can check them out in the description below. But step number 7, and with this particular step, we have preparing for the inspection. So now that you've listed the home, you've had offers, you've accepted an offer, you can most certainly anticipate that the buyer is going to schedule a home inspector to come in and do a full-out inspection. And once the inspector does their job, 9 times out of 10, doesn't matter how immaculate you keep your home, an inspector's job is to find some kind of problem. So you should always anticipate that the inspector is going to have a report of the issues that they found in the home once they've completed their inspection. Once they've done that and they provide that to the buyer and their agent are going to assess that report, and they're going to determine whether there's anything that came up in that inspection report that's a major concern for them, or a concern for them. Not necessarily a major, but it could be a concern for them. And it could be possible that the buyer is going to send over what's known as an amendment to address concerns. And essentially what that is a request for the seller to make certain repairs or address certain issues that were found from the inspection. Now let me just make one thing very clear. In the state of Georgia, it is understood that all real estate transactions are considered to be as is, right? Meaning however the property is, it's an as is sale. So while the seller is not necessarily, it's not mandated that the seller make certain repairs. Remember, the objective is to get from listing to the closing table. And so it is quite customary, as long as requests are reasonable, that sellers typically do address some of these concerns. Now, the question is whether that's 1 or 10 things that a seller will address. That's definitely a case-by-case scenario. What we're really hoping for during this period of time is that the buyer doesn't see anything on the report that's considered to be a deal-breaking issue. An example of a deal-breaking issue would be something like the foundation of the house is no good, and that's going to require extensive repair that could cost, $10, $15, $20,000 depending on the property. That's definitely for many people a deal-breaking issue. Severe mold, severe water damage, things like that could also be deal-breaking. But again, this depends. Some buyers are pretty good about certain things. Other buyers might say, oh, the doorknob is not working, that's a deal breaker for me. So it really just depends on who you're dealing with. But in this particular step, if you are a seller and you receive what's called an amendment to address concerns with the buyer's concerns, you should also receive a copy of the inspection report at this time so that you can fully assess what the issue is. And ideally, you would like to have enough time so that you can either bring out the necessary professionals or experts to assess what's being requested and price it out to see what you are willing and able to do from a negotiation standpoint to move on to the next phase. So when I say that, for example, if the buyer says, hey, the HVAC looks like it needs to be serviced, you probably want to get an HVAC technician out there to determine whether or not that's the case, right? And then you can determine from there, okay, yeah, I'm willing to service the HVAC, I'm not willing to replace the roof. So, and you negotiate from there. So again, the inspection is you could argue it's a nail-biting time in the process, but it's part of the process that is going to come, and we have to be prepared for that. We'd actually be prepared in this case because what you and I would do in advance of the inspection is we'd go over certain things so that we know, or we'd be prepared for what could come. But again, it's all about finding what can work for you and what can work for the buyer so that everyone can move on to the next phase happily. So again, this particular part of the process is analyzing and deal with any concerns or questions that a buyer may have after they've had their home inspection. As always, if you need me, feel free to call me, text me, email me, send out a dove with a message, however you communicate, smoke signals, I answer to all of it 7 days a week. All right, so Daniel Frankson, your real estate resource. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those things that you're supposed to do on YouTube, and always available to chat. All right, so I'll catch you on the next video.